Hi, guys. Welcome to weekly travel updates. I didn't post this until today, even though we've been watching this storm for several days. I'm talking about Hurricane Hillary, now Tropical Storm Hillary, who really dumped tons of rain through Southern California, Baja, on into Nevada now. Man, Palm Springs is in a state of emergency. Las Vegas is in a state of emergency. That's dangerous. Um, that's serious. Um, but they got more rain today in many areas than they get an entire year. An entire year. So, I'm scourging the internet because I'm wanting to see pictures that I could share with you. There was just so much. Guys, just close your eyes and imagine waking up this morning, going outside, and finding mud up to your axles. In many communities, that's what I see. And then, California is known for its washes, WASH. It is a cement lined pathway to direct water. But many of these were so full of trees, branches, debris. They were getting stuck under bridges. And so then debris going up over bridges. Roads were washed out. It's my heart goes out to them. I could not get in touch with Kathy Dowling, my sister in California. So if any of you guys are watching, please ask her to reach out to me. I would take a live call while we're on air if any of you guys want to call. I called Tim, didn't get an answer either. I should have tried earlier in the day, and I would have tried Jill or Nana. Okay. Anyway, even Disneyland closed early because this storm was coming in. I mean, it's like 80 years since they had a storm of this magnitude. And even then, it didn't come ashore. It was not a hurricane that made shore. It went ashore, came across east of San Diego. So that saved a whole lot of shipping industries. But like Catalina Island was evacuated. Boy, I sure wouldn't have wanted to been on that Catalina Express from Catalina back to San Pedro, because the buoys in the ocean were measuring anywhere from 6 to 9 feet. That meant on the shore, who knows how large the waves were crashing on the shore. I didn't see, but I can remember going out there as a naive early teenager, having grown up at Myrtle Beach, thinking, oh yeah, look at these waves, I can't wait to ride them. And I got out there on wasn't a boogie board, but it was a canvas float, if you remember those, the kind with the string around them. And I was just going to catch a wave. Well, my stepmom was laying out in the sun. The water was freezing cold, and it was in the middle of the summer. But the waves out there are so much larger. I mean, I felt like I could have drowned 2 or 3 times that first day, because they are so big and so powerful, and they just roll you and roll you and roll you. Okay. Anyway, thank you for whoever's watching. Let me tell you, the thing about California not being prepared is all of the news outlets that I could find said they were contacting Southern Florida, like Orange County in California was contacting Orange County in Southern Florida to say, what is your normal procedure? So they did seem to be prepared, but prepared with mentally encouraging people to make sandbags. I think it'll be days before we actually see what all the damage is, but to see just rivers coming through the mountains, carrying boulders and rocks and tree limbs and debris, trash, to see cars floating, and then one 18-wheeler was in the middle of what looked like a mud parking lot. Anywhere around him, 1,000 yards around him in any direction, was nothing but mud. And it was like the front end of his trailer, or front end of the tractor, was sideways. So the mud had taken it out. And there was a vehicle out there as well, with mud up to the axles on the vehicle. Golly, I just can't imagine. Anyway, it was all through Chocola Valley. But to have so many places that are just a state of emergency is catastrophic. Okay, this week, a 40-year-old Viking worker on a Viking ship in Scotland went overboard. It's not known why. First reports were that he was a glass cleaner. He was rushed to a local hospital in Scotland, but did not make it. And the big story is going to take some time to tell you. It's a family from Roanoke. He was a doctor. 5 kids, the youngest 15. They're getting ready to go to college, and they wanted this huge Alaska adventure. So they made plans. It was on Norwegian Cruise Line. They let Norwegian Cruise Line do the airfare, and Norwegian is one line where you don't know what your schedule is until 90 days in advance. And if you don't like it, you can take the option of dropping the airfare, or you can take the option of paying more and diverting to something you prefer. Anyway, this family didn't do that, but they did let Norwegian do the airfare. Day of departure came. Well, no, let me back up on it. So they got their air itinerary, and their air itinerary had them flying across country from Greensboro, North Carolina, to Vancouver, British Columbia. And they called the cruise line and said, you sure we can make this on the same day? This is a pretty big deal for us. And whoever they spoke to, according to them, said, no problem. You shouldn't have any issues. Guess what? They had issues. They got to Greensboro Airport. Their flight had been canceled. Greensboro is growing, but we don't have a ton of choices. If you're leaving at 6 a.m. in the morning, going to Seattle for a connection to get to Vancouver, which is what our group's doing in a few weeks, then if that flight's canceled, his first call was to the cruise line. And what did the cruise line say? You'll have to deal with the airlines. And he said, but we bought the air from the cruise line. And they said, if you'll read in your cruise contract, air is out of our control. Whether you book it or whether the cruise line books it, if it has anything to do with airfare, don't count on the cruise line stepping in to do anything, because they don't. Or let me rephrase that. Norwegian Cruise Line's policy says that they do not. I am going to read Royal Caribbean's before we set sail to Alaska in a few weeks. Anyway, this family paid $60,619.17 for this 7-day sailing up to Alaska. Like, it would be Vancouver to Seward, and they would get off there, and then it was going to be a land trip after the cruise. $60,000 for 7 of them. They missed their first flight. They called the cruise line. Were told, sorry, nothing we can do about it. You have to deal with the airlines. They got an airline to get them to Seattle. So they took off, went to Seattle. They were taking a smaller plane from Seattle to Vancouver. Remember, this is day of departure that all of this occurred. So they're taking a smaller plane from Seattle to Vancouver. They get to Seattle, and the Seattle to Vancouver flight canceled. I don't know the reason. I'm just the messenger. So they are trying to get a ride for 7 of them to make it about 2 hours north to Vancouver. Well, it's a international border crossing there, and they couldn't find a taxi driver or an Uber driver who had the right credentials to cross over into Canada. Go figure. Should have used the good travel agent, or should have had one on their speed dial. That's why I tell you guys, you need my phone number whenever you travel, because one phone call to me and we would have had Limopedia, which is one of the groups that we use, send somebody over there, had been picked up within an hour and a half. Okay, I remiss. Let's go on. So they are now still in Seattle trying to make a way. They call the cruise line, and according to the reports now, the cruise lines, they said, can we go to the first port of call, which would be my suggestion. One of my customers did that just a few weeks ago. And the passenger says they were told they could not do that. I would always say go to the first port of call. You paid for the cruise. You have documentation to get on the ship. That's what I would have suggested strongly. But they were told that they couldn't. They asked if they could forego the cruise and just go do the land portion, fly on up to Anchorage. Again, based on the reports I'm getting, no, they couldn't do that. 2 days of frustration, and this family get back on the flight and come back to Greensboro, North Carolina, and get on the phone with the cruise line, only to be told, you have used the airline tickets. They refunded him the port and government taxes, because that's always refundable. It amounted to just over $2,500, and they lost the rest. They lost $58,000. And there's not really any way for them to get anything back, because the policy for Norwegian says you have to go to the airline. And it says whether you book it or whether we book it, it's out of our control. Wow, that is. Tell me your thoughts. I am just dying to hear some local people what you think. What would you do? Hopefully you'd be calling me because you're listening to my program. So, I'm pretty sure that I'm your travel agent, and you'd be calling 336-260-4870. Okay, on to the next thing. Did you know that Frontier Airlines starts this week? If you're not checked into your flight 1 hour in advance, they're closing the ticket counters. They're closing the ticket counters 1 hour in advance. Delta, 45 minutes in advance. Nope, Delta was less. Delta's 30 minutes in advance. United, American, Southwest, the other major carriers who fly from here, they are all 45 minutes. And JetBlue is 40 minutes. These times are changing, guys. So when I tell you to be at the airport 3 hours in advance, you better. Think about this family who got there and found out the flight had been canceled. Number one, I check, and you too. If whether I book your travel or whether you book your travel, you should always, always, always reconfirm your flights 24 hours in advance. If you're going internationally, 72 hours in advance. Always, always, always take travel insurance, because Norwegian said the only way that you would get back money is if you had travel insurance and you declined it. And he admitted he declined it. He bought it directly from the cruise line. No advocate, nobody looking out for him. Norwegian Cruise Line is a business. I feel so sorry for this family, but I am sharing it with you so you don't make these mistakes. Share this story, share this video, share this YouTube. Oh, by the way, if you haven't gone and liked this on YouTube, please go do that. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps me out because I developed a very good following on Facebook before I realized that that was the wrong platform. It really should have been on YouTube. Okay, next. Did you know that a Russian spacecraft crashed today, this afternoon, on the moon? I don't have any details other than it was a crash landing with damage. It was all I had time for. It came on right before I got ready to do this. Okay, I'll have to tell you more later. You guys might have heard me talk about my BNI group, Business Networking Incorporated. And BNI is a global global organization. And I'm very proud that BNI in Maui is contributing and helping to disperse needed items, funds, shelter. I was proud of our BNI brothers. Uh-oh, someone is here. But they'll just have to wait. Let's see. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, I have to tell you one more thing, and then I'll go answer the door. There is now a company that's guaranteeing passports within 3 days. It's CIBT. We have used them for many, many years. It was mainly used for corporate travel because it was kind of expensive. But if you must have a passport, then give me a call, 336-222-TRIP. I will be happy to hook you up with my guy. It can cost from $199 to $999, depending on how quickly you must have it. Okay, there's the doorbell again. Well, I guess that I am, okay, 18 minutes. I hope I gave you some good information. If I did, please like this. Please share it. Please go like us on YouTube. And ciao. Oh, I almost forgot. They'll have to just come back, I guess. I forgot to tell you the most important thing. You know what this weekend was? It was Maya and Trey's first anniversary. So, for your entertainment, and in case Nana is watching from California, here are some wonderful photos from that day. The year has just flown by. I can't even explain it. I can't believe it has been a whole year. But there it is. Okay, bear with me 1 second. This is why you need a helper. Okay, it's coming. I did it as an overlay. Oops, hold on 1 second. They're up here. All right. So here is my son. Oops. My son, Trey Fargus, and his beautiful bride. Why is that going away? And his beautiful bride, Maya Barlow Fargus. And then this was just this is one of their pictures before the wedding for their announcement. This is my favorite one, I think. Why won't it stay there? Okay. Isn't that a beautiful couple? Okay, you have to look fast because I'm not sure why it's going away. But then here is the big day. Look at that. This was the most beautiful venue. I didn't notice where Trey's hand was before this moment, but isn't that beautiful? And Maya was just the most beautiful bride ever. Here is another shot. I guess I have to hide this one. Oops, here we go. This was the kiss. He lifted her off of her feet, and by this point, she was barefooted. And then just another great shot. Boy, when I see how pretty their pictures are, I can tell you my color is not very good. Come on. I tried to get Trey to come on here, but they went to Charleston for their first anniversary this weekend, and they were just driving back in today. So, no, Mom, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, you guys, I thank you so much for coming tonight. I will go see if I can figure out who is at my door. And hey, Tawana, he has gotten tall. He is super tall. Well, thanks, guys. I so appreciate you. And I am going to sign off and go see who is at the door. Ciao.